this concept called a worldview, and we'll begin with that. And I guess the best picture to kind of introduce this concept to you is something that happened in my family. I have these sons that play soccer, and I enjoy being part of that and watching them progress and seeing them grow and get better and better at what they do. And recently we were at an event, and one of my sons was playing, and he's matched up against these older, bigger kids, and he's not humongous for his age, and this one kid was humongous for his age, and he's several years older, and this other kid is 6 foot something, and he's not that athletic and doesn't understand what to do with his size, and they're playing in this confined space. How many know what futsal is? Futsal is like soccer in a gym, and they use a heavier ball and a little tiny net and a tiny space, and what it does is it amplifies the need for you to have really high skills and one-touch passing, and it's great training for outdoor soccer in the bigger fields. And so a lot of times this will be a winter activity. And sure enough, so we're here at this futsal facility, and we're up on the upper layer looking down and watching what's going on, and my little son had a little bit of trouble with this bigger kid. And at one point, my son went down pretty hard, and he got fouled by this bigger kid, and I don't know why they kept like magnets, magnet and iron drawn to each other, but I mean, there's a whole court he could have been playing on. He kept ending up where this big guy was, and he gets fouled, and he flies through the air and lands and kind of hurts himself, and he gets up, and this particular son of mine is pretty tough, but he was crying, like real tears are going, and he's hurting, he's limping, but he won't come out, and he's just determined little face, and and he's staying in it, and with tears coming down his face, the next play, the ball comes down into his corner, and you can see him going up. Here's that big guy again, defending him again, and he turns around and backs into this big guy, tears coming down his face, and he puts this little move, and he kicks the ball backward through the guy's legs, and then runs around him, the other side of him, grabs the ball, and moves on to score. It was great, just determination. But later on, we're in the car driving home, and I always like to hear their side of the story. And so he said, "Dad, did you see that one big kid?" And he's going through it, and he took me out intentionally. He did, and he describes this big drama that took place. And well, I was right here looking right, I saw it right there. And the way he saw it through the eyes of a kid half the size of this monster, this guy must have looked like a monster to him. The way he saw it from being in the game, dealing with this kid 2 or 3 times his size, and to hear him tell the story, it barely matched my view of what I saw. Those are 2 different views of the same event. Probably they each have a measure of truth to them, but they're colored by our perspective. One of us was safely ensconced in the stands, watching from above. The other one was hurt so badly by it that it brought tears to his very tough eyes. And so the perspective had a lot to do with the interpretation of the events. Well, that is an analogy to something called a worldview. And worldview is a very famous term now. It's been popularized in discussions about politics and origins, and you'll hear a lot of times apologists for Christianity will go into the concept of worldview. And what it means, it's a very interesting concept. What it means is that everything we see is colored by the lens through which we see it. And we build up constructs in our mind, and every piece of new information that comes in, we automatically, without even thinking about it, try to fit it to that construct that we've already got built. This construct represents how we think, how we interpret the world, our map that we've built of the life that we're living, and if it doesn't match our construct, we either reject it or modify it, and we somehow make it fit. Very rarely do we change our construct. We've been working on that for a long time. So one person comes along with totally different perspective and experiences and background than another person, and they have a very different worldview. Well, in the same way, I've kind of slowly realized that people have something called a money view. Now, Orrin Woodward did a great talk on this called the lens effect. It's a very popular recording in the Life suite of products, and you might want to go order a copy for yourself, get your hands on that, and listen to it. And he's talking about this exact concept of a worldview, or your perspective, and how you see things matters. Well, as we talk about finances and how this concept applies to money, what you can readily see is how you're doing financially has a lot to do with how you think financially, which has a lot to do with how you interpret information, how you see.